Hello, and welcome to the Simply Business Interview Podcast, a podcast created by business owners for business owners. I am your host, John Jennings. And I believe that most business owners are working way too hard for much too little. And one of our issues is that we overcomplexify things. I believe the answers are almost always within us or within our reach. I like to say that I'm a simple man with simple ideas. So welcome to Simply Business. All right, today I am really excited about what we're going to do, kind of going off our normal path of talking to business owners or founders and entrepreneurs. I love to every once in a while just bring in somebody from a different industry, but still someone who has a great amount of insight on leadership. And so today we get to welcome the Reverend Dr. Julie Hager Love, who is the president and CEO of the Kentucky United Methodist Children's Home. So she officially has the honor of having the longest and most titles of anybody that's been on the program. So I'm really excited to have Julie on the program. Julie, why don't you first just tell us a little about yourself and what you do at the Kentucky United Methodist Children's Home.
Okay. So a little bit about myself. I am United Methodist clergy, and a little over 6 years ago, the bishop asked me to come. We are under an appointment system. So the bishop asked me to come and work with the children's homes. My background is I went to seminary, it's in theology and Christian education. But along the way, I've done a whole lot of leadership training and coaching and things. Grew up in Berea, so I've always, I can remember my mother giving me a dollar bill on a fifth Sunday at worship to put in the envelope to give to the children's homes. So I've got that kind of long history of knowing what they've done. But the children's homes, we will be officially 154 years on March 11th of this year. Yeah. We started as an orphanage after the Civil War in Kentucky, and Methodist came together and said, we got to care for these kids. So how we've done our work has changed. Our mission is to serve Christ by providing for the physical, emotional, educational, and spiritual needs of children and families. And in 2024, we served 1,974 children and families throughout all of our services. So today our services are varied. We do residential care for both the state for kids who've been abused and neglected. We also have a federal program where we're caring for kids who come to this country unaccompanied by an adult. So we have residential. We also do residential apartments for kids who age out of state foster care, and we care for them till they're 21. But for every one child we serve in a residential program, we serve over 5 kids and families in our community, what we call our community-based services. So we are working with schools, we're working with the courts, and individuals who come to us and say, my child or our family needs counseling, we need help. And we can go into schools and do it, have contracts with various school districts. And then we also do some extensive work with the Department of Juvenile Justice in this state. So we've got a varied portfolio and a lot of people doing a lot of great things, but we always want to be on that mission. And right now our vision is we want to be a preferred place to work. So we're really working on how do we care for our staff, so that we know that's the first step, so we can be a preferred provider of services in the state. And then, so all of that is because we want Kentucky to be a great place for kids. So we want to be a catalyst for Kentucky to be a preferred place for children. So we're trying to do it through all of our services, but we're also saying what's our bigger impact we can have on the state.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot. That's awesome. Thank you for that. And yeah, I forgot that you'd been around so long. I mean, 154 years. That is amazing in itself. So you made the move from a clergy role to really an operational president of a large healthcare related organization, mental health and such. So tell me a little about that transition.
Well, it's good that I have input and learner in my strengths because I had to do a lot of learning, right?
Mhm.
And I think leaders always need to be learning no matter what, but I
Yep.
had a pretty big learning curve coming in. And I would say we had, when I came here, we had some financial challenges. Being in this kind of industry and a nonprofit and relying on other entities and how they function, you always have a lot of risk with that, but we had some particular financial things we need to overcome. I think the bigger thing was we had a culture shift we needed to make, and we had to work a lot on trust, how we trust each other. And I knew my key was, and I'd learned this from a lot of the coaching experience I'd had and a lot of my leadership learning. My key was this executive team of around 10 people that are from all over, from our various campuses. That if I couldn't get that group to trust each other and work together, we weren't going to get anywhere. So my
Yeah.
first energy went into that group. And that's where a lot of primarily my energy goes now.
Yeah.
But I knew that was key.
Yeah. So a couple things there that you mentioned. One was that idea that invest in your people so that they will then invest in the your clients, which are the children.
Absolutely. Right.
So that's kind of the servant leader model, right?
It is. It's
That you
absolutely servant leader.
you
Yeah.
you have to. So you said you wanted to make your the children's home the preferred. How'd you say that
Preferred
again?
place to work.
So so you'll get people who will choose you over other competing services. So
That's our
that's your
hope.
way of trying to drive,
Yeah.
pull in the best uh,
Right.
based on how you treat them. Cool. So tell me about trust. I'm actually a certified trust edge coach.
Okay.
So I I've been I've been coaching and training on building trust for the last 2.5 years. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, just it was an eye-opening kind of thing. It was like one of those kind of ahas, like duh, if you if your team doesn't trust each other, they don't perform. But
Right.
the data around that's amazing. So tell me how you approach that. How have you worked towards building trust in your team?
So, one of the model we use in our executive leadership team is I got from a group called Servant Leadership Incorporated that I did some
Mm-hmm.
coaching for it and learned from. And so, in that meeting every month, except December, we don't meet for various context reasons, but for every month, we are together for a full day. And so,
Mm-hmm.
our time is spent in loving, and that's basically caring about each other. How are you doing? What's going on in your life? What's keeping you up at night? What do you want to celebrate? And then learning what we're always either reading a book together, watching a TED Talk, an article, something. What are we learning together about how to be leaders? Or maybe it's a learning about something in our space that we need to know. And then we can get to the leading piece. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that trust, you can't start with the leading. How are we gonna do this without knowing, can I trust the person next to me? So part of it is just spending some time with each other and sharing meals. I actually listened this morning. Jennifer Moss has a new book out called Why Are We Here from Harvard Business Review. And I listened to her talking about that. And she was saying, you've got a multiplex of relationships in any kind of place of work, and you have to spend time on those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a lot of the trust is how do we build that trust? Now, that doesn't mean, because sometimes people will go, well, then you care about people so much that they get away with anything. No, you're building the trust, but you've also got some accountability with it as well.
Yeah. 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 The there's the double edge of that, right? You want to be
Absolutely.
compassionate. The model that we use is there's 8 pillars, and I never can always if I try to recite them, I'll only
Mhm.
get 7 of them. I always
Gotcha.
I always forget one, but compassion is one of them, right? Which is kind of
Absolutely.
what you're talking about. You have to show compassion towards people, but there's also one on your commitment and your I can't remember the other. the actual word they use, but that you're doing your job.
Right.
That you
Right.
you you can be trusted to consistency and capabilities, or some of the things that we
Right.
look at, because you have to be able to be trusted on the other side to deliver.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, that's cool. I knew you had those meetings. I didn't kind of understand the framework behind them. So
Yeah.
that's interesting, and how you learn together as a team. So
Right.
it's more than just a book club. You're actually trying to use that to build
Right.
the capability of the team up.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Very good. Well, cool. So, what's been, you had financial challenges, you had
Hmm.
some team alignment challenges, stuff like that. Uh, what what's, I guess, the biggest surprise in the area of challenges that you maybe you weren't expecting that you had to tackle?
So I would say two things. I would say one is how volatile just child welfare is in general.
Mm,
So that's sort of a context for us kind of thing of, this thing can change on a dime, or you can get all these mandates and no funding for them.
mm,
So I think that volatility is my biggest surprise in trying to figure out how to have a healthy nonprofit and stabilize and do all that. So that's a concerning surprise. I think the other, and it's not really a surprise, but a joy is how faithful our donors are. I mean,
mm,
we have to raise a significant amount of money every year to be able to do this work. And we have just incredibly faithful donors who care about kids. And that's a joy of a surprise. I would say the other surprise, and this is more of a general leadership thing, is I do a lot of work in understanding adaptive change and
mm,
adaptive leadership. By Ron Heifetz and Marty Linsky have done a lot of work in that. And, one of the things they always say is always, always expect the sabotage. Always
mm.
expect something's going to happen when you think things are going well. Not that people are, usually it's not because somebody's being mean, it's just that they're scared of change.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing. One of the biggest surprises is how long it takes to change culture and how
Yeah.
how how you just can't let up from it.
Yeah.
Just a constant.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're in healthcare, and one thing I know about healthcare workers is I use the DISC platform. They're
Right.
almost always
Sure.
over in that S category.
Oh yeah.
That's where the supporters are, people who want to nurture and
That's
support and love.
exactly right.
And so usually 75 or 80% of most of the staff in a healthcare organization is going to fall into that
Yes.
steady supporter kind of role.
Yep.
The problem with that is they hate change. That's just the nature of
They
that
do.
style. And so, yeah, you have to be relentless with it.
You do. And I'm a C. So I'm just like, no, we've got to keep it moving. We've got to
Yeah.
get it in order and keep it moving. And but yeah, that's definitely a profile for the people we work with. And you want them there because they're the ones who have the
Oh,
empathy,
sure.
have the compassion, right?
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
would say if the world was full of D's and I's, we'd drive ourselves crazy,
right. Yeah,
So,
you need us C's to keep things moving too.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, yeah. The C's keep us from doing things that are crazy, and the
that's right. That's right.
and
That's
the
right.
and the S's are the ones that help us get things done.
Yeah.
And so we're
Yeah.
glad to have them there.
Yeah.
Uh, cool. So, y congratulations! You just completed your PhD. Little, I guess, righteous jealousy or something here. From I told you before we started. I wish I had done that earlier, so I would
Uh-huh.
have enjoyed it. I think I really would have enjoyed doing that.
Yeah.
But so now you're kind of entering it. You said you got to learn how you're going to learn and grow, and I know
Right.
you're passionate about learning and growing. So how do you, since you've completed the program, how do you learn and grow, and what's your motivator to keep doing that?
So my motivator is that's just how I'm built, right? I was raised by educators. My parents both worked for Berea College.
Hmm.
I just learning is in my blood, and it's certainly one of my strengths. So part of it is that's how I'm built. So
Mhm.
honestly, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing next. My
Yeah.
leadership coach and I just had that discussion about what is next. What is going to keep you um, just figure what is next. So I can read
Mhm.
books and I do that, but I need something else to stretch me. So honestly, I'm looking for what's next. But I do read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of podcasts. And then I'm also, I think for leaders, we cannot isolate ourselves, and you got
Yeah.
to be around other people who share the same passions you do or are going to support you. So you need people both inside your organization who you have trust with. You need people outside your organization.
Yeah.
So one of the groups that's really helpful to me is a group of women who are CEOs of agencies like mine. And we
Hmm.
talk on a regular basis, and there are one or two I talk to a lot. So one or two of them, I'm just going and saying, what are you doing to learn right now? So
Hmm.
honestly, I'm sort of searching for that structured learning. I need some unstructured, but I need some structured as well. So I'm searching for that. But for me, it's always reading and
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest reader, but I force myself to, and I'm like you, podcast and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, the that idea of continuous learning is so important for a leader. We're about the same age, and although you look much younger, you know
Thank you.
you, but you admitted your age earlier, so
I
uh,
did.
off camera.
Okay.
But we're I see some of my contemporaries who are like just wanting to like shut down and retire, and I'm like, no, why? There's so much still to learn. I'm
Hmm.
fascinated with AI and
Right.
what it's doing, and for good and bad. There's both sides of it, right?
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
I'm constantly just experimenting with different things to see where it takes me next. Well, where do you, speaking of that, where do you see yourself and the children's home going next?
Yeah.
What's on your horizon?
So we've got enough capacity now that we're really trying to look upstream,
Mhm.
upstream on our systems, upstream on what the future looks like for us. So we're actually reading Dan Heath's book on upstream right now. That's what our executive leadership team is reading. So right now we're expanding our independent living because there are a number of kids who age out of foster care in this state,
Yeah.
and they are actually one of the growing homeless population is kids who age out of foster care. And
Wow.
so we think we do that pretty well, and we want to expand that. So we're looking at ways to expand that. Um, and then I think for us, it's more partnerships. That's one of the things the board has said to me is my goal for the second year in a row is they want to see us doing more external partnerships. One of the things I would say was characteristic of our agency several years ago was we were sort of in our lane and we didn't want to talk to anybody else and we had blinders on. It's just like we got to hunker down and do our work and not have partnerships or talk to anybody else. And we're trying to open that up.
Hmm.
So I've had that's given me opportunities. Like we joined the State Chamber of Commerce and they asked me to be on a collaboration they're doing on childcare, which has given me all these people to talk to about children's issues and things. So we're trying to go upstream, and that's in service to that vision of we want Kentucky to be a preferred place for children. We want to be a catalyst for that. We can't do it on our own. So
Hmm.
who are those people that we need to be part of organizing to say, it's not okay that we have one of the highest rates of child abuse and neglect. It's not okay that we have kids aging out of foster care who are homeless. So, how do we have those conversations to figure some of that out? So, I think that's a lot of um, our vision for the future, while we also keep these services going.
Hmm.
So, it's a both and. But that's what our board, who supervises me, has said. Let's look at your time going to that.
Yeah. So Kentucky is unfortunately low on some of those stats that
Right.
you so in some ways it's like you're fishing in a pretty full pond because there's so many needs out
Sure.
there. So
Right.
how do you prioritize what's most important?
I think that's really good. One of the concepts we've been working with is called sustainable excellence.
Mm,
So there are so many opportunities to do things. And so the vice presidents and our strategic director and I just sat down and did just sort of a spread, not a spreadsheet, but a graph on if we want to start a new program, what is the process we have to go through? Does it meet our mission and values? Can it be sustainably excellent? We can do some with excellence, but is it sustainable? We
right.
could do something sustainable maybe, but is it really excellent? So
Yeah.
that's sort of our fences that we are using for what is possible because you can get overwhelmed in this,
Yeah.
right? It's like there's so much need.
Yeah.
And we are really diversified now, and we're
Yeah.
probably about as diversified as we can get. And we're in our second year of working on our infrastructure to catch up with that growth we've had.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of work we've been doing.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's great insight for anybody, whether you're a business or a nonprofit. I see people often kind of just keep
Right,
over diversifying, right?
right,
They're trying
right,
everything. They throw everything up against the wall and see what
right,
sticks. And uh, I like that sustainable excellence. That's a good. You got the yin and the yang there, right? You
right,
both.
right.
Uh, that's important. That's some good stuff there. That's worth the ticket of admission today,
Well, good,
right there.
good.
Good phrase to remember. So I whenever I have a nonprofit person on, I want you also to be able to just kind of make the appeal because I know you, like you said,
Yeah,
you rely on donations and stuff. So if people
we
want
do.
to help you, because I know I don't bring people on here unless I believe in their mission, and
Right.
so if you could share how
Yeah.
folks can help.
So our website is kyumh.org. Or I'm sure you can Google our name and get to it. And you will find ways there. We love volunteers at our Nicholasville campus to help with right maintenance things. Like right now, our maintenance guys have been doing a lot of snow removal, so we've got
Yeah,
some deferred things, right?
right.
Um, and then financial donations are always helpful. We take in-kind donations often as well. So we would love to have you connect with what we're doing. We'd love to send speakers. I'm out a lot of Sundays at churches, but I've also spoken to a lot of other groups to talk about what we do. So we'd love to do that work with you. So come to get our on our website. You can request a tour, you can volunteer, you can give through our website as well, because those donations mean that we can be excellent. The money that we are given by state and federal contracts doesn't cover the excellence. It covers
Right.
the bare bones. And
Yeah.
we are committed to doing this work very, very well. And just that excellence is so important because our kids deserve excellence. One of my favorite stories is a young lady was getting ready to leave our care. She was in our domestic residential program. And she came up to me. It was at Christmas. We were having a party. And she came up to me and she said, Miss Julie, have you heard I'm leaving? And I said, I've heard you're leaving. Know that you are loved. Know that you are prayed for and know that you will be missed. And she looked at me and she said, I know that people love me and care about me. And I know that I'm prayed for. And I think I will be missed because I'm kind of a favorite around here. So that's the story I used to frame. That's what we want for all the kids we talk to know that they are a favorite.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted for my kids. I have two young adult kids. They know that they're my favorite. And
Hmm.
I think that any of us who have children in our lives, we want them to know they have a favorite. And
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to do for these kids. So we would love for anybody to support us or be a part of it. Um,
Awesome.
Yeah.
You also have a campus in Owensboro, correct?
A
So
campus in Owensboro. We also own apartments in Lexington as well. Yeah.
yeah.
Where we
So
do independent living. Yeah.
very good, very good. Well, Julie, this has been a pleasure. Appreciate just several pearls of wisdom that you brought, and appreciate what you all do because
Well, thank you.
you're doing God's service here for the people that need it, the most, the children. So I truly appreciate that as well.
Well, we appreciate our incredible staff who do all that work. So, and our donors. So thank you very much. It's great to talk to you. I appreciate
Great,
it.
great, thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, please share or like it on whatever platform you use. You can find me on social media. On most platforms, I'm John K. Jennings. My first book is also available. Your Baby is Ugly tells you about 10 truths that business owners need to hear, but often won't, and how to overcome them. You can find it on Amazon. Just search for Your Baby is Ugly. And be watching for our next episode, where I'll interview another business owner who will share their stories and insights into what it's like to create a great business.